And good evening from points all over the Carolinas. It is the Carolina Weather Group special live coverage of our winter storm for this next to last weekend of January. Had to think about where we were on the calendar, along with James Brierton and Frank Strait. I'm Sam Walker. Glad to have you along with us on this Saturday evening, which has turned quite chilly, to say the least, for a lot of folks, and starting to get a little icy, dampish, all kinds of stuff out there. And we're here to talk all about it. I, of course, coming to you from the Outer Banks, Frank coming to you from Columbia, and James coming to you from the Queen City on this Saturday evening, January the 24th. Gentlemen, we are, the game is on. And the game, apparently, bottom of the first here, we're starting to see some things coming in.
Sam, we have on the screen right now radar scope, which shows us that wintry precipitation moving in across portions of the Carolinas. I'll tell you, not a whole lot of precipitation where I am in Charlotte so far, but you can see it's starting to fill in. All those circles on the screen are verifiable. Whoa. Did you see that just load in there? So
Yes.
all of those circles on the screen are reports. I was going to say from the National Weather Service, but now it's National Weather Service and users like you and Ping at home, which really help us get the ground truth. So we're having little spurts here in the Piedmont of some frozen precipitation, sleet, freezing rain, TBD. But we're expecting a whole lot of it during the overnight. So our main messaging tonight, the TLDR in tonight's show, folks, is going to be just because maybe it hasn't started yet where you are doesn't mean it's not coming. It's still on its way during the overnight hours, right, Frank?
That's right. Really, we like you said, bottom of the first or top of the first inning here. Things are just getting started, and there's not a lot that's happened so far. Two reasons for that. Number one, the storm's going a little slower than we thought. Number two, the air mass over the Carolinas right now is really, really dry. Dew points, for example, in North Carolina around Raleigh down to Fayetteville, been sub-zero today. And I don't mean Celsius for you science geeks, I mean Fahrenheit. Really, really dry air is in place, and it's just taking a while to get things to moisten up. Dew points are coming up now. I think it's up to 10 in Raleigh, for example, right now. And we have had a little bit of a variety of things managed to get down to the ground. A little snow here, a little freezing rain, a little drizzle there, a little sleet here and there too. Even down to Columbia, we've had a sprinkle of sleet or freezing rain or plain rain so far. It's been above freezing until just the last hour here. But we expect the precipitation to get more widespread and heavier as we go through the night tonight, and leading to a really serious situation with a lot of ice buildup over a lot of the Carolinas coming tonight and tomorrow morning.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, if you look at what the forecast still showing, and I'll throw this up here on the screen right now because we got that winter storm severity index that we've been kind of showing throughout, or trying to show throughout. Let's see here. There we go. That has definitely been showing throughout that the reds areas, pretty much everything along and west and north of I-85 is going to be where the most severe impacts are. And then those purples, the extreme impacts right along the spine there of the North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia border, and then on up into the high country of North Carolina. That's where the majority of the issues are going to be. And then as you head farther or closer to the coast, things kind of taper off, but still moderate impacts are moderate impacts. That's still, you know, a quarter inch of ice or more possible in those areas, and anything above a quarter inch of ice. And we've been saying for the last couple of days, that's where kind of the magic number, it seems like. Once we get above a quarter inch is where things really start to go bad, with trees coming down, branches coming down, and power lines, and of course the slick roads. And then when you get along the ocean side, the influence of the Atlantic Ocean shows up there. But it's interesting that, I mean, right now where I'm at, I've been as low as 23 today. I've risen up to 30 degrees here in Northeast North Carolina just over the last 6 hours. So we're starting to see that change, if you will, in what direction the wind is coming. We got a little bit more northeast component, but it's not just what's happening at the surface, it's what's happening above the surface. That's kind of interesting to see what is happening so far and what's going to happen over the next 24 to 36 hours.
Sam, if I take your hazards map and I flip on over the statewide anticipated ice totals between North Carolina and South Carolina, we could see how those impacts kind of overlay dramatically with the ice. And for anyone who's listening on our audio podcast right now, along that I-85 corridor in upstate South Carolina into portions of North Carolina like the Piedmont and the Triad, we're looking at like half an inch of ice still being forecasted, and much of that will start forming during the overnight hours. Shout out to this graphic from the National Weather Service in Raleigh, which shows not only North Carolina but also South Carolina. So down towards Columbia, where Frank is, Frank, you could still see 0.2 of an inch of ice from this thing.
Yeah, the actual forecast range from the National Weather Service here is a quarter to a half inch, which half inch might be a little ambitious here in Columbia, but that maybe the ceiling may be more like 35 or 40 100ths. But nonetheless, that's enough to cause some significant problems with the temperatures well below freezing. We're going down to the mid-20s here tonight, I think. So that's going to result in what does fall to build up pretty efficiently on the trees and power lines. And we're going to get at least some scattered tree and power line damage here and really all along I-20 in South Carolina. The farther north and west you go toward the upstate, the worse that's going to be. And that's where things have the potential to be very damaging up there in upstate South Carolina.
Yeah, I would say I'm a little worried about upstate South Carolina. I'm a little worried about the Piedmont. Of course, western North Carolina, which we know with Helene saw trouble with its power. And, they've been working real hard to not only get power back on, but actually, build that grid back up to the integrity that it might need. Not to mention, this is just such a huge storm system. Looking right now at all of the alerts from the National Weather Service from Maine down the eastern seaboard, back beyond Texas into Arizona, there some of those winter weather advisories, and those purple ones on the screen right now for Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina. That purple, those are ice warnings, because again, if you haven't gotten the memo yet, the biggest threat we're going to have is that ice that Frank was just talking about. Quarter inch of ice or greater can already begin to cause power problems, not only tomorrow, but as we go through Monday and Tuesday, because Sam, in all your updates, you've been talking about how frigid the air temperature is going to be even after the precipitation moves out.
Yeah, exactly. And it's 2,500 miles, by the way, from the Maine Canadian border down to the Rio Grande Valley. 2,500 miles of winter storm warnings right now, and there's a good shot of the regional the U.S. radar showing where the moisture is coming up from the southwest and streaming in, but having a hard time reaching the surface as we get up here. James, I don't know if you've got it ready. I've got the statewide maps available.
Yeah, if you could
kind of show where the temperatures are going to go over the next 24 hours. Let me get to the right tab here, and then we'll make a switch, because I've got talking about too many tabs, and I've been living on the too many tabs. I've been living there for the last couple of days. Yeah, here we go. We'll switch it out. And
we'll also just let people know we see your comments coming in right now. If you're watching with us at about this 9:30 hour here on this Saturday, we'll be getting to some of your comments on YouTube and Facebook coming up. But Sam, if you could restart your screen share, I'll pop it up for everyone to see here tonight.
Yeah, let me just hit there's that clicker that I need. Let's go with South Carolina first, because I'm going to start there. Let's start with the minimum temperatures for tonight. This is what we're looking at for tonight as a low temperature. Is that there? Yeah, there you are. And we'll get it to bounce up and share this tab. That's what I want to do. Share this tab. There's the whole shot. Yeah, we're looking at low temperatures in around 23 at the surface. Now, remember that this is at the surface, and that's what we're all feeling. It's what's happening above that's playing the big role in this. But you see low 20s all the way across the upper quarter of South Carolina, getting into the mid 20s on down. And then, as you get into the Midlands, and then, on the coast, I mean, look, Myrtle Beach, Georgetown, Moncks Corner, and Walterboro, 32. So they're right on that edge. And Scotty Powell was doing earlier this evening, he did his update on his local TV station down there. He was talking about how they're right on that edge
Yeah. Did you see the update from Scotty in our messaging here just a few minutes ago saying that he started to get some mixed precipitation reports, especially in that Conway area?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So they're seeing it down that way. But there's your low temperatures for tonight for South Carolina. I'm going to jump over to let me hit the max tomorrow, because this is going to kind of show you exactly what tomorrow is going to be like. And that's why, man, look at that. 61 in Charleston tomorrow. And then it's 31 in Spartanburg. A 30-degree difference in just one state. Crazy how things are going to change.
It wouldn't surprise me if it got even warmer than that in parts of the Low Country tomorrow. I mean,
right.
That's some really warm air down there in Florida, along the Gulf Coast. It was in the 80s in Florida today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be that warm again down there tomorrow, and that's going to try and surge northward. Don't be surprised at all if it ends up sneaking up to like 70 down there in the inland areas, just north of Hilton Head there. It's really warm air trying to come north. It's part of the reason why we ended up with an ice storm here instead of some snow with some sleet mixing in, is because of just how doggone warm that air is out ahead of this storm over the Gulf of Mexico and into Florida.
Exactly. I'm going to go ahead and switch us over to North Carolina, because you can really see in the teens in Boone tonight. That's why, and I was looking at a traffic camera from US 421 going up one of the mountains there, one of the hills, and you can see a pretty good covering of snow on the ground up there tonight so far. But in the teens out here where I'm at, in the northeast corner of the state, 30 degrees, even down almost to freezing in Manio. And, you go on up to Kill Double Hills, Duck, Southern Shores, it might even get down to around freezing or stay. That's where the minimum's at. I'm pretty sure I've already hit my minimum. I talked about that, earlier, that we were at 23, 24 degrees earlier this afternoon. That's probably going to be my minimum temperature for today. This, of course, is for tomorrow. But yeah, look, I mean, it's 20s and 30s pretty much statewide in North Carolina, and even down in Wilmington, where we haven't really talked about any issues along the beaches there, or even up towards Jacksonville and New Bern. That the line, if you will, of where the freezing air is supposed to be, and where the snow, sleet, rain, freezing rain mix line is just inland of there. That, at least the forecasts have been that way. But it seems like the models, Frank, they've been maybe over. It would be correct to say either underperforming or overperforming as far as goes with where our air temperatures should be right now.
Right. The air mass is very dry again, and it's cold. And when you start putting precipitation into a dry air mass, you cool it by evaporational cooling, and that brings your temperature down even more. That's why one of the things I like to look at, where did I put the SPC mesoanalysis page in my screen share in the winter weather? Look at the surface wet bulb temperature, and that gives you an idea of what might happen if you bring a lot of precipitation into this dry air mass. Now, the scale here only goes down to 24. Once your wet bulb temperature gets down to that point, you pretty much know you're going to be sub-freezing at the surface. But look where the wet bulb temperature, the purple line is, that's the freezing line for wet bulb temperature. So all those areas, if you bring some precipitation in, you saturate the air, then your temperature goes down to about 32. Roughly where that purple line is, and of course north of that line it's even colder. So seeing that, it has me concerned that if we do indeed bring precipitation into this air mass before the wind turns around and it starts to go more off the Atlantic again, and then turn around to the south again later on, then maybe we can see that freezing rain occur farther south than forecast, which was a concern all along here in South Carolina. There was some concern that you might end up seeing that freezing line get a little further south into the Low Country than what they were forecasting. That's something they were talking about in their briefings and discussions. The National Weather Service office down there has been talking about that all day long. So it's been a concern and something we're watching for. And if we can get any significant moisture into this really dry and cold air mass, then there's going to be some risk for that freezing rain to occur further south.
Yeah, I'll tell you how dry it's been here. You guys have probably seen me already during the show applying chapstick because it is just that dry. My hands, I went outside before without gloves. That was a dumb idea. But I wanted to go back to radar scope and pop up those M pings because, we're trying to understand all the different layers that are happening in the atmosphere, and that's going to be a big determining factor in what type of precip makes it down to the ground. But the best way to know what's happening on the ground is not by looking at your radar app, but by looking at all of these MPing reports that you all are sending in. So we can see that in the last couple of hours, we're starting to get reports of freezing drizzle here in the Charlotte area. And this does also extend into other portions of North Carolina, because I think it's fascinating to see exactly where things are setting up as snow, sleet, and freezing drizzle, which will eventually become that freezing rain that we really have to worry about in some places. We also have this mesoscale discussion that the folks over at NOAA's Storm Prediction Center put out. And, we see these all the time during the summer when we're tracking like clusters of thunderstorms that we expect to develop. Well, how often is it here in the Carolinas that we see a mesoscale convective discussion for winter?
Right.
A wintry mix of sleet and freezing rain expected to slowly spread north and east over the next 3 to 5 hours. Of course, the southern Appalachians. Areas currently observing snow will likely see a transition to sleet and freezing rain during this period, with freezing rates, guys, up to 1/10 of an inch an hour. And it seems like once this thing gets going, we could have, assuming it doesn't dry out, Frank, right, we could have enough precipitation all night, all morning, all afternoon to get up to that critical 1/4 inch, if not half an inch mark in some places. Frank, Sam was just showing us the temperatures for upstate South Carolina. I mean, all this ice is going to accrete, and then it's just going to be in a cooler with temperatures below freezing.
Right, and that's going to be the real question for tomorrow is this warm air that's to our south that's going to try and surge northward. How well will it end up trying to scour out some of that cold, really cold air that's in place over the Carolinas? Does it end up trying to warm things up to or above freezing like the European model's showing, even into upstate South Carolina? I'm skeptical that it does, but that's what the European model's showing, and everybody just worships the European model. And no doubt about it that it's the best global model out there. But on the other hand, it does have its weaknesses. Later on, we'll try and talk about what comes after this storm, and I can talk about another weakness the European model has. But right now, while we're frying the bigger fish that we have to deal with right now, at least we hope this is the bigger fish. Yeah, that's going to be one of the questions tomorrow is how well this warm air that's trying to surge north scours out the cold air near the surface. It's going to ride up and over the cold air at the surface for the most part, and that's why we're getting so much precipitation. But if we manage to bring the temperatures up above freezing, say early in the day tomorrow around Columbia, that ends the risk down here. Maybe it sneaks up to 40 degrees tomorrow afternoon, and we end up with not a lot of precipitation. Maybe it ends up going to 70, like I said, in parts of the low country, and then when the cold front that trails our storm moves through tomorrow will cause thunderstorms. Maybe they're severe.
Have we caught a little issue?
Oh, you lost Frank too? Okay, I thought it was just me.
Yeah, no, I think, Frank, we've lost your audio there. We're getting a little clicking instead of you talking.
Yeah, and I don't think he can hear us. Oh, maybe he can hear us. But Frank is showing on his screen share that there is a slight risk of some thunderstorms on the back end of this thing.
Yeah, and let's see, Frank, we might need to get you to reset your mic while we kind of describe it. And yeah, if you look, it's a slight chance, a marginal chance, and then the what they call it, the level 1 chance, all the way up to where I am on the coast. And I talked about it earlier. Our forecast high is 65 degrees tomorrow for Buxton, for Cape Hatteras. And maybe even 60 on the northern beaches around Manteo and Knoble Hills and Nags Head. And I'm supposed to be where I'm at in Currituck County. I'm supposed to get up to around 55 tomorrow. It's crazy how much of a temperature variance we're getting out of this. And that shows what's happening, not just here at the surface, but the upper atmosphere. It was interesting to watch Greg Fischel's update earlier this evening. And it was really neat to see the modeling throughout the air column and how the direction of the air, the direction of the upper level winds was from the southwest, and eventually that trickles down to the surface eventually, even for the triangle. And that's what he was just showing around Raleigh when he was doing that. But to actually see it going on out here, how much this southwest wind we're going to get, and that's, looking at our forecast, is that we're going to get a southwest wind out of this. Let me see here. I'm going to try to stop sharing here. I'm going to try to share what I'm showing with that map that shows exactly what we're looking at here. We'll go back. Frank, you've got something back up?
What I've got on the screen while you're working on pulling that up, Sam, is I just want to make sure that we kind of delineate between where we could see some of these thunderstorms and where we could see some of the warm air, and where we're still going to be in Arctic Armageddon. And so right here is the temperature profile for Charlotte tomorrow. Maybe we make it to 33 degrees come Monday, but the high temperature in Charlotte tomorrow is going to be below freezing. And I think we can really see that delineated when we look at the map of where those warnings are, right? So let me zoom the map in, because we saw some conversation, and I'm going to just bear with me here while I move it over. Why is it that northeast Georgia and western North Carolina, including Charlotte, and upstate South Carolina, including Asheville, Spartanburg, and Greenville, and I did throw Asheville in there even though they're in North Carolina, that's where the ice storm warnings are. But then Raleigh and Greensboro have a winter storm warning, and it's kind of because we're right there on the cusp between where we're going to have those freezing temperatures or not. And so, everybody in purple on the screen, you're probably not going to see warm air in a thunderstorm tomorrow. You're going to probably stay below freezing. And so everything that accretes is just going to sit there until Monday or Tuesday when we manage to get back up above freezing. But yeah, it's the tale of two different worlds, right? Because you guys along the coast there and far enough south, you guys could be talking about like storms and rain.
Yeah, and that's all about the track of the center of the circulation with the Miller B is what this is a Miller B, and it's kind of a classic Miller B where we've got one low down, over the Gulf Coast and one that's going to form right off of shore of me, and all depending on where they track is where the wind flow is. And if you look at that, the wind flow from this thing is going to be southwest out here, but then it's going to still be, even though it's in the upper atmosphere out of the southwest, down on the surface, the cold air is still entrenched down south. So it's going to be very, very crazy. The next 24 hours are going to be fun to watch. This is probably going to be one of those that's going to be taught meteorology classes for years, to try and describe a Miller B, and also, just a general ice storm for the mid-Atlantic and the southeast.
Check.
Yeah, there we are. Now? He's back. He's back, and he can give the real
unplugged it and plugged it back in, and that seemed to fit.
Works every time.
It works every time. Am I right, so, Frank? Did I say things right there? Go ahead, James. You had something.
I was going to ask Frank. He's got the SPC Day 2 outlook, which is Monday for that marginal and slight. Does that continue into Day 3? Does that risk move east?
Yeah, let me zoom in on that a little bit. Okay, so this is zoomed in on South Carolina here. This does not continue into Day 3. This activity should act. The concern for if it were to happen along the Carolina coast, it would be Sunday night. That's when this
not quite Monday. So I misspoke,
would reach the warmer air that's likely going to filter into the Carolina coastal plain tomorrow night or during the day tomorrow. So that's when the threat would be if it was going to happen. Currently, the SPC, they have it confined to Georgia, Alabama, and Florida. But again, we'll have to watch it tomorrow. If that warmer air, if it does end up trying to go to the 70s into the South Carolina low country, then that concern would have to be expanded northeastward.
We're taking some of your comments that are coming into us right now, letting us know what it is that you are seeing. Please keep those coming. We'll talk in a minute about how you can submit MPing reports, a couple other things we're hearing. And this is a reality too, right? As people are thinking about different modes of transportation, we're hearing that there's a Norfolk Southern freight train that is just stalled on a hill near Cary and Morrisville on that main line that Amtrak also uses. No. So, a lot of people had flights canceled. A lot of people got off the road. Some people might be trying to use trains to get around, but they're going to run into the same problems the rest of us are going to run into, which is that things are going to get cold, things are going to get icy, and you're going to have a hard time with momentum getting up a hill, and you're going to have a hard time with braking coming down a hill.
Yeah, definitely. I see one of our commenters saying that they're having sleet and freezing rain, and the roads have gotten bad in Siler City and Liberty. So that's right outside the triangle. And then that comment above, hit that one. Because the one above from Woozy, nothing in Garner. I mean, we're talking about one side of the triangle to the other, a totally different story right now. That's how this thing, we've talked about it, that there's going to be a transition line. It's where that transition line sets up. But you're talking about the travel, Southwest and United canceled all their flights after basically they were to shut operations down at RDU between 2 and 3 today. My wife actually and daughter just flew out of RDU about 8 o'clock on an Iceland Air flight to go east, north and then east. But they were able to get out. But they said they were in and out of security in less than 5 minutes. Even on a Saturday evening, getting through TSA at a major airport like Raleigh-Durham International Airport was kind of surprising. But it just shows you how much everything's kind of shut down as far as air travel. But that is very concerning about that freight train issue there on that main line that Amtrak uses through North Carolina. That's going to have a trickle-down effect, not just here. And we're seeing the trickle-down effect from the Northeast of what's going to happen up there. We haven't even talked or mentioned that. They're looking at snow. We're talking all about the ice down here. They're looking at snow that's going to cause travel issues up into the capital region and on up the Northeast corridor.
We do have a question from somebody who's watching us right now on our Carolina WeatherNet, which provides nonstop access on YouTube to live regional weather conditions across the Carolinas. And that question is, are we going to see any snow here in the Carolinas? Some of you might see some snow, and that maybe the biggest snow amounts maybe be 2 inches closer to Virginia. But the thread is ice. The thread is compounded by ice. And I know it's hard to, 1 inch of snow and a quarter inch of ice, they're not the same. It's not apples to apples at all. And so that's why we're talking so much about ice. If you get some snowflakes, it's going to look real pretty for a couple minutes, but the ice is where the problem is going to be. And if that ice sticks around, that is all that extra weight on power lines and trees. There are questions right now. What do you think about school and work on Monday? What do you think about school and work on Tuesday? We can predict the weather. It's hard to predict people. Traveling is going to be very difficult on Monday in these places that are going to get this ice accretion either ongoing now or starting very soon.
Yeah, definitely. And, if you think about this, talking about everybody asking what's going to happen Monday or Tuesday, we've looked ahead at the temperatures that are forecast right now. Well, look, the temperatures we were forecasting was being forecast for right now 2 days ago are a few degrees lower than we expected. So there's still a lot of question marks of what's going to happen after this system gets out of here. Are we going to see this deep freeze? How long is that deep freeze going to last? It seems like it's going to, but it's really tough to make those calls, and everybody's asking on a Saturday night. Tomorrow is when everybody's going to make their decision, folks. You'll know by dinner time tomorrow what everybody's doing on Monday. I can guarantee you. In areas that see ice, in areas that see snow, or in areas like mine, they're going to see a Slurpee thrown out there on the highway. That's kind of where we're at this point on a Saturday night, trying to look ahead to all those types of decisions that are going to be made 24 hours from now.
Since our show has started, I'm keeping a close eye on Drive NC, which is the Department of North Carolina Transportation's access for traffic cameras, and I've seen numerous crashes pop up in at least the last 30 minutes. The newest one is on I-40 in Orange County. Hopefully you guys are just where you need to be as this storm is now in the area. We've already pushed beyond the times of which we were like, time to now shelter in place. And hopefully you have all your storm supplies. The grocery stores around here in Charlotte closed a couple hours ago to get their employees home. And so hopefully you've had a chance to kind of hunker down and just kind of hang out with us here on YouTube and just kind of be ready to be there for the next 24 to 36 hours if you're in the ice zone. Frank, you've got some radar up right now, and I think it has those MPing reports, and we need to tell people how to get in on all the MPing fun.
Sure does. Looking at the radar right now, it's centered on Raleigh, and we've had some comments saying it's not doing anything in Garner. Meanwhile, just the other side of Raleigh, there's some action, and the radar shows that pretty well. A little bit of light sleet, freezing rain, it looks like, mixed around the Raleigh area. The purple dots, those are that's freezing drizzle. The raindrop shaped things are where you have something liquid falling on with this legend here. In the gray ones, it's a mix of freezing rain and sleet. Some light ice pellets with the round dots there. So it allows us to take it at a glance, see what's actually going on. But yeah, if you look at the radar here, there wasn't anything happening in Gardner. It looks like you're probably seeing a little bit of something light moving in now, some light sleet or freezing rain. Off to the north, it looks a little bit heavier. Looks that way anyway, but one thing you have to keep in mind about weather radar is that the farther away you get from the weather radar antenna, which is right here, labeled KRAX, that's the 4-letter code for the Raleigh radar. The one at the airport is the terminal Doppler. It starts with a T, TRDU. So that's that one. We're not looking at that radar. We're looking at the next red, which is this one here. So that little red dot is where it's located. But anyway, the further away you get from the radar, the further above the ground the radar's beam is. That happens because the Earth is curved. So the radar more or less beam travels more or less in a straight line. So the further away it gets from the radar antenna, the higher above the ground it is, and the more likely it is to intersect precipitation when the air mass is so dry, because when you have moisture falling into dry air from above, it evaporates as it gets close to, and so there becomes less and less, and sometimes nothing reaches the ground, which may be the case in some areas south and east of Raleigh right now. But off to the north, maybe the precipitation is a little heavier along the Virginia line, or maybe it's just that the radar beam is further up above the ground and able to see precipitation that's actually occurring higher up, but isn't occurring so much close to the ground. Can't really sure unless we have the MPing reports to tell us what's going on. Mm-hmm. There's a snowflake up there, just north of Henderson, there in Vance County, just south of the Virginia line there. So there is some snow occurring along the North Carolina-Virginia line. Now, to talk more about MPing, there's the website for MPing, mping.nssl.noaa.gov. MPing is a way for you to use your cell phone to report what you're seeing at the ground, because with weather radar, sometimes we have a pretty good idea of what's happening at the ground. If it's 70 degrees and there's a little blob over you, well, it's probably just some light to moderate rain, little shower moving through. If it's a yellow or red blob, then it's probably a thunderstorm with some heavy rain. We know that. But this time of year, things are a little bit more in question. Just because there's precipitation showing up, it may be light, it may be happening far away from the radar's antenna, it may be happening aloft, but not reaching the ground. Using MPing, you can tell us that it's reaching the ground. You can tell us what's reaching the ground, because we may not know for sure whether it's sleet or freezing rain. We may not know for sure whether it's snow or sleet. We may not know what the precipitation type is. But using MPing, you can tell us. It's an app that you can download for your phone. It's available for both the Apple and Google ecosystems for Android. And you can use that to report what you're seeing. And you scroll down here and you can go to the interface that allows you to view the reports from the MPing website, and you might see your own pop-up in there. And that's kind of what it looks like right there, that little thumbnail showing you all these reports that are between Charlotte and Raleigh right now from this first wave of rain that's moving through. So if you want to use it and join the many thousands of people that are doing that now, please do. We meteorologists sure do appreciate it.
It amazes me how localized it is, especially in this early stage of the storm, because we've got a Facebook comment, and I believe it. And the question from Kayla was, what time is it supposed to start here in Gastonia, North Carolina, which is just to the west of Charlotte? And then you'll look at 9:55, just minutes ago, at Charlotte Douglas International Airport, and the automated station is reporting ice.
Yeah.
Right. Those things are, 5 miles apart, 10 miles apart? So those MPing reports come in super, super handy.
I'll throw that one up there. That's mine. Yeah. That's my MPing report from 3 o'clock in Grandy of light snow. So thank you, Judy.
Wow. So, we're trying to keep this conversation flowing and try to hit on all the points, and also want to have a good conversation with you, while also, of course, telling you to be prepared. And one of those ways to be prepared is to prepare you and your family for the possibility of power outages. But guys, how remarkable is it that despite the size of this storm and the number of states impacted, Duke Energy showing us tonight the number of out-of-town crews that have come to Greensboro, come to Charlotte. They're in these staging areas around the Carolinas, ready to assist once the power outages start. So many of us depend on electric heating that we're going to need to get that power back on as soon as possible. Charlotte, Tuesday morning, low temperature is like 9. And so the absence of electric heat is going to be critical. And I'll tell you, I was a little worried about the availability of out-of-town crews, but it seems that they are, of course, showing up. And I didn't mean that they were going to leave us high and dry. I just meant there were going to be so many areas that need crews that I was curious to see how they were going to be dispatched and staged and moving about. Sam, I think you're keeping a close eye on power outages.
Yeah, I've got all of the different, the main power companies that supply here in the Carolinas. We'll start with Duke Energy because they're the largest in the 2 states. Not a lot to report on so far tonight. 156 around the Triad. And that's one that's been around pretty much the last couple hours. So probably not storm related, because that out there is what this is the first time we've seen around the Triangle. 151. That's an increase over the last 2 hours, and just 62 in Charlotte, 68 down there west, northwest of Columbia. Frank, you might want to help me out on where that is.
Because that looks like the Greenwood area.
It is, yeah, just outside of Greenwood. In fact, so I zoom down on that, and then you only see one, out in the western parts of North Carolina at this point. So right now, power's holding well. Kind of the same thing for Dominion. I'll start in South Carolina, where in their service territory, 3 outages. Again, not much to report as of
Soak it in while we can.
Right, exactly. And 0 in the North Carolina section for Dominion Power here in the Northeast. Not an outage. We had 1 outage earlier today at about 1,200 customers out on the Outer Banks. That was contractor knocked down 2 poles around midday to morning this morning when it was 25 degrees. So not a good one. And then if you go up into Dominion service territory up in the Southeast Virginia and Central Virginia and on up towards DC, I mean, what, 26, 28, 30, 31? And now, of course, these numbers do not reflect what the co-ops, so many of our areas here in North and South Carolina are serviced by electric membership cooperatives. They have their own reporting system, and there's so many of them. We could go through and show them, but it would take an hour to show all of them. They're going to be probably working as hard as they can at the same time. I can tell you, like here on the Outer Banks, Cape Hatteras Electric Cooperative, they've sent a crew west to help with one of the co-ops. I believe maybe it's one of the ones around Edgecombe County. We saw yesterday a whole convoy of Duke Energy trucks coming from Florida. As many times as we've sent crews to Florida for hurricane restoration over the last couple of years, this is when they return the favor. You're going to see, Duke Energy trucks. You're going to see contractors. There's quite a few contractors around the country who do nothing but storm recovery for the for the power companies. Lee is one of them here that's based in North Carolina in Sanford. But there are several of those around the country that basically they rove all over the country. When there's a weather disaster, a pending weather disaster, they show up. So you're going to see trucks from all over the United States out here for this one. But it's amazing the fact that we talked about it before. The winter storm warning that's currently in effect covers 2,500 miles. Again, from the Rio Grande to the Maine Canada border. How many power trucks are in this country? Is everybody descending here? There's going to be a lot of work, it looks like, for a lot of people for the next couple of days trying to get the power back on. Hopefully
our frontline workers, the power crews, your doctors, your emergency responders, not only putting their own lives in risk in this frigid cold, but leaving their families and their loved ones behind. And we appreciate all of their work, which is even barely started at this point. I wanted to read a comment. C Truth 9487 on YouTube, watching over on our Carolina Weather Net, says, "We're staying off the roads at least until Tuesday, hunkering down. Generator and supplies are ready. We're in the heavy predicted ice swath. Sleet is already coming down, and we're near the Virginia line." I mean, that is the best comment. That is like the best scenario from what they're describing. Food, power, heat, because we're going to need to be practicing safe, non-electric heating. Don't be opening your stoves. Don't be running fires indoors that are not but a fireplace, right? We don't want to have open flame. We don't have barbecues. We don't want to have anything that's going to catch something on fire or cause carbon monoxide poisoning. Those are going to be our problems. And that's where this storm is going to get real serious. The next 24 hours, it's going to be icing. It's going to be gross. We should just hang out. And then we got to ride out this long tail on the back of it until it can defrost. And I'll just say, here at the 10 o'clock hour now, we've got another accident in the Raleigh area on Interstate 440. Do I know that it was ice related? No, but we're already starting to see on that I-40 corridor where it kind of swings north through the triangle and the triad. We're getting reports of icing in there.
Yep, and that's probably going to be going up as we go through the overnight hours of folks that had to be out. There's people that had to go to work today and they didn't close up early like some places did. They had to get home afterwards. So hopefully everybody makes it safe home after this, tonight, and gets where they need to be, and don't be heading out if you've got ice, or even if you don't see ice where you are. Just like we've talked about, how many places have we said? I mean, go back to our comments earlier. It wasn't doing anything in Garner, and the roads are covered in Siler City. That's what, 30 miles? I mean, that shows you how fast this transitions. So, we got to keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. Is it worth us trying to put up a future cast? Is there one that we feel is doing an okay job with temperatures and precipitation, Frank?
I don't know. This is a tough one because the models are kind of in two separate camps. If you buy the global models, just kind of the mean of them, you find them bringing that warm air in aloft and making everything freezing rain or plain rain in South Carolina, and making it mostly freezing rain in North Carolina. And then if you look at the 3 kilometer NAM, for example, it shows a lot of sleet falling all the way down to upstate South Carolina. Being the higher resolution model, it's got a chance of being right. It's really tough to say what future cast is going to be the correct one.
I'll be honest, and thank you for that explanation, because, I'm looking at one of the future casts right now, right? Because I'm looking at what I have on screen in terms of radar, and I'm like, man, that just seems so dry across Charlotte and upstate South Carolina. I'm like, we keep talking about how dry this air is right now. Like, where is this thing? But I think by the time we get up in the morning, we're going to be like, oh, there it is. It's here now. Because,
I think
like
so.
you said, it's moving slower than maybe we anticipated this morning, yesterday, or the day before.
And for a number of people, you're going to be waking up tomorrow morning, 7:15, 7:30, 8 o'clock, whatever, and you're going to be wondering, why is it 52 degrees in my bedroom? Oh, I don't have power.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Right. Yeah, that's a distinct possibility for a lot of people.
Yeah. I feel like we've hit on a lot of things here tonight, and we're going to try to provide you updates as best as we can. One of the benefits for us, right, being spread out across the Carolinas, means that when I inevitably lose power here in Charlotte, these guys will be along to update you on what's happening. So we hope that you stay with us, because we are just now in the very beginning of this scenario, and I think there's still a lot to play out in terms of icing, how much power, and what the schools and what work decides to do on Monday. I can answer one of those questions because I can tell you that tonight we learned that the Rock Hill School District in South Carolina is going to be virtual for an e-learning day on Monday, January the 26th. And that means everyone stays home, all the buildings are closed, our families and staff will receive additional information shortly. I think some schools anticipated that this was going to be the likely scenario and sent kids home either with iPads or Chromebooks or paper packets to complete for their virtual learning on Monday. I feel like we could probably do a whole rant on whatever happened to snow days, but Lo and behold, the kids in Rock Hill and the teachers and the staff in Rock Hill won't have to try to venture out on Monday, and that's good news.
Yeah. On the other hand, some of them may not have power and an internet connection Monday morning.
This is very true.
That's
Or even
right.
Tuesday, so may not be a whole lot of e-learning getting done, but that's the plan anyway, is to do e-learning, so at least you don't have to go on the ice-covered roads to get to school.
Right.
So go ahead, Sam. Go ahead, Sam.
I was going to mention it, and then there was a couple more comments asking, what's going to happen, and back on Thursday. I'll throw this one up here. Julius has a good point. What happened? Why have we not gotten anything yet when it's supposed to start at 5 p.m.? And we just mentioned a moment ago, it's just slowed down. It's just slower than what the forecast models were thinking when we were back to Thursday. Were we Thursday where we were still getting a foot of snow here, or was that Wednesday? I think it was Wednesday.
I think it was earlier
Tuesday,
than that.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Tuesday was the foot of snow. Tuesday was the foot of snow, right?
Uh-huh.
So,
yeah.
and to be clear, I don't know that a forecast was calling for snow on Tuesday in the amounts of foot. And by a forecast, I'm talking about a human. I'm not talking about your Apple app. I'm not talking about a computer model. I'm not talking about that guy who has that Facebook page you'd like to follow. I'm just talking about computer models who were looking at the raw data. Then what happened on Wednesday is they sent the hurricane hunters, the airplanes that fly through the hurricanes, actually into the developing low pressure off the California coast, which helped give us a sense of where the storm was, how strong it was, what direction moving. That then helped us get a better timeline on when it was going to arrive. Yes, to that comment's point, I think we thought it was going to already be icing in more places than it is right now. Mind you, it is icing in some places right now. And then we kind of refined that, right? We kind of went from, once the humans got more involved in articulating the forecast, I think the emphasis really became ice, because we were able to delineate the temperature difference. I mean, we are slicing layers of the atmosphere, and we are just like on the cusp in some places of being above or below freezing. So it's so complicated. Could you imagine if all of this precip had come, Frank, on like Monday or Tuesday when we were 9 degrees? Like, we wouldn't even have a question.
Right. But yeah, this the whole bottom line here is the storm's moving. Well, two things in the bottom line: one, it's moving slower, and second, the air mass over us is really dry, at least in the low levels, and precipitation's coming in over it. But because it's so dry, a lot of it's evaporating before it reaches the ground, and that's likely the case in upstate South Carolina right now, and a good bit of North Carolina too.
Let me be the voice, Frank, of somebody who's watching right now and going, this ain't gonna happen. It's just gonna dry up.
Take a look at the wide angle view of the radar that I have on my screen capture.
Oh, okay.
Or just zoom yours out and shift it over to the right there. And yeah, look at all that precipitation still upstream from us. There's where your storm is. Just hadn't got here yet.
It's late to everything like I am.
Patience is a virtue.
Hey, I'll throw something at you. Looking at that radar, what do we see down there along Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle?
You talking about that green area?
Green and yellow and red.
Right. There's some
that we had
rain and embedded thunderstorms up there.
Exactly.
Down there.
And earlier today, even some severe storms right along the Gulf Coast. That's going to play a factor from what I'm seeing as well. What we may see 24 hours from now, 12 hours from now, 6 hours from now. Because isn't that pulling a little bit of the energy out that's supposed to be flowing our way?
Yeah, that happens sometimes. Sometimes the moisture just gets all gobbled up by thunderstorms that are occurring down along the Gulf Coast. If that happens, then maybe we don't get as much precipitation here. It's happened before. Could happen again.
Yeah. Yep, it could. And we talked about it earlier in the show. If you weren't with us, if you're just joining us now, the potential for some possible thunderstorms making their way out to the coast tomorrow. So a lot to be doing. But it's crazy. I mean, look at that. There is literally precipitation in El Paso from this single storm system.
Oh, it's all the way back in Phoenix.
Oh, yeah. Right. Okay, yeah. If you wanted to blow it even farther out. Yeah, it's all the way back in Phoenix. That's a lot of territory that moisture is going to cover again between now and this time tomorrow night. and Monday morning. So that's why we're, it's a little bit later than we expected, but it's coming.
Jake's question on Facebook: are we still expecting the same high totals? I don't know where we are, and high, I think he means like the total amount of accumulation or accretion. I mean, I'll tell you, like where I am in Charlotte, and I think I can speak for upstate South Carolina, that I-85 corridor, I'm still planning for half an inch. And you know what? If we luck out and it's only 4/10 of an inch because we missed out on a couple of hours of icing on the Saturday night, great. But yes, I am still anticipating significant icing, because whether it's half an inch or 4/10, anything above 2/10 starts causing power problems. So at some point, I'm going to stop personally splitting hairs, and I'm just going to know that we're in that category where power outages are going to be a problem. That we have so much margin beyond a quarter inch in some places that I think whether we get to those astronomical highs of 1 inch of ice that have been floated around from time to time, or we just get to half an inch, yeah, those numbers would be different statistically, but I think the impacts are going to be the same.
Yeah. This is crazy. It's
Now,
like
Jake,
Chevy Chase. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Jake says he's in Orange County. That Raleigh area, it could be a little split between ice, snow, and maybe rain. So maybe the confidence there is lower than where I am. I'm still 100% in storm mode here in Charlotte. I have not let up on anything.
Oh, you talked about that crash that's in Orange County, and he's saying up around Bahama. Yes, I know how to say it, guys. Bahama, that in northern Orange County, that there's some ice up that way pretty hard right now, or a little earlier. So, and that kind of corresponds with where James mentioned we saw that initial crash on I-40 coming out of Chapel Hill, between Chapel Hill and the 85 interchange.
We've talked about this a couple of different ways, right? We've seen a couple comments like, oh, it's pretty quiet right now in Greensboro, or hypothetically, it's pretty quiet right now in Holly Springs. But when you look at the radar, you're surrounded. It's coming.
There you go. North Raleigh. Deck's already iced over. It's been falling for about an hour, Deborah's saying. Yeah. So, yeah.
I think this is the last live stream. I think this is the last live stream we do where we're at 99.9% of lights on. I think by maybe not by Sunday morning, but I think by the time if we come back here in 24 hours on Sunday night, I think we're going to be in a whole different world.
Yeah, those maps are going to be they're going to be triple digits, quadruple digits, maybe in quintuple digits by the time we're back on tomorrow night. So
yeah. Anything else we need to cover, gentlemen, before we wrap up?
Yeah.
Do we? I know it's not something we really want to do because
we don't really want to, because it's what might happen next after this storm.
Yeah.
And it's a long way out, but people are buzzing about it because people look at models and they think, oh, look what the models are showing. It's going to snow 14 inches in Rock Hill next Saturday, and it's going to snow 30 inches in Boone. And then they look at the 18Z run. Oh, it's going to snow 14 inches in Florence. And they look at the next 0Z run. Oh, it's going to snow 24 inches in Rocky Mount.
Did we not just talk about how 6 days ago we thought it was going to be Snowmageddon today? Right. And we're in a situation, but it's not Snowmageddon, it's Ice-mageddon. Yeah. So I don't know that I can put much
let's
confidence
just
in
rip off Band-Aid, start looking at the models.
Frank, pause.
About what might happen.
Pause for just a second. You're talking about a week from now, right?
Exactly. We're talking about a week from now.
Okay, but why am I seeing on my National Weather Service official forecast for Kill Noble Hills, North Carolina on Thursday, a chance of snow?
I was going to get to that.
Okay, let's go.
I'm going to get to that too.
All right.
Because it's not just what's happening a week from now. There's also this little thing that's going to come through at the middle of the week. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I guess I have to show both models. So let's get the 12Z run here. So we're comparing apples to apples between the GFS and Euro. Okay. Big blob of junk going on right now. We've already talked about that. We've burned things up. By the way, notice Monday, all these isobars that are packed close together are going to be windy. starting tomorrow night going through Monday. It's going to be pretty windy. It's going to be gusting 30 miles an hour, maybe 35, even maybe 40 in a few places. That's with all this ice on the trees. So that's going to be exacerbating the problems we have with trees and power lines because we're stressing the trees out a little bit more by shaking them with all this wind. I mean, ordinarily it's windy, but it's not going to not going to really bother us that much. But when you have a half inch or so of ice on the trees and power lines, shaking them even further stresses them even more. So that's going to be a problem. But things settle down Monday night. Monday night it's going to be real cold. Tuesday morning. A little bit encouraged by some packing of the isobars here, at least on the GFS. Oh, wait a minute, that's Wednesday. The back up to 12Z Tuesday. But anyway, we don't have high pressure directly overhead. It's still apparently going to be back in Texas. So with a little bit of wind blowing, that keeps it from getting as cold. So maybe it only gets down to 10 instead of 5. Still going to be really cold. And then there'll be some wind chills that'll be close to 0 Tuesday morning. So that's the next thing we deal with behind the storm. And then behind that, slightly milder, but still colder than average. And then there's this little Alberta Clipper system that comes through Wednesday night into Thursday and it kind of blows up offshore. The GFS doesn't really show much happening. The 12Z run did. The 18Z had a little bit more. Now the Euro here, let me back that up to Thursday. It shows something a little bit more impressive with some more flurries in Virginia and North Carolina there. So don't be surprised if there's a little light snow event. Sometimes the global models do understate what might happen with precipitation in the long range. So we'll be watching that maybe there's a minor event here Wednesday night or early Thursday in parts of the Carolinas. Looks like more of a concern for North Carolina than South Carolina, but that trough wouldn't have to dig much deeper than the models are showing for there to be something into South Carolina too. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Anyway, that Alberta Clipper leads fresh cold air into the southeast, and then we have to watch out for what might happen behind it. And the Euro says, nothing to worry about. GFS, on the other hand, the 12Z run kind of lost it too. 18Z run, however, does have it, and there's a little snow there in Virginia, or in Georgia, and coastal South Carolina. Then it goes offshore. So that's what the models are showing now. But remember how pretty much every storm we've seen, and especially this one we had, ended up tracking further north than what the model showed 5 to 7 days out. So that's probably going to be the error that the GFS is in right now, probably too far south. And the European model, it has its issues too. This is a storm. The potential weekend storm is one that comes from the Pacific and takes the low road across the country. The Euro is notorious for making things hang around back here over the southwestern U.S. too long. So it's entirely possible that we end up with something more substantial next weekend. And not only that, let's look at our friend, the teleconnections. First, the North Atlantic Oscillation, which is kind of a measure of blocking over the Atlantic, the North Atlantic up toward Greenland and Iceland. When it's negative, you tend to have a trough over the eastern part of the U.S. Hey, look, it looks like it's going to be negative until further notice. Then there's the Pacific North American teleconnection, which there's a lot more to it than this. But for our purposes, let's think about this as a measure of there being a big ridge out west and a trough over the southeastern U.S. When the PNA is positive, that's what you have, is that ridge over the west and a trough over the southeastern states. Well, look, it not only is going to be positive, it's going to be strongly positive, 2 to 3 standard deviations. I think those are standard deviations there. So we have the negative NAO, positive PNA pattern coming up, and those of you who follow this and dig the jive here, you understand that means potential stormy setup along the U.S. East Coast because you have a ridge out west, which helps to cause cross-polar flow and pulling cold air in from Alaska and northern Canada over to the eastern part of the country. And then the storm track typically is one where the storm comes across the Gulf of Mexico and then turns up the East Coast. So that's what we're going to be watching for in the long range, even though the models aren't showing it right now. They actually have been showing something like that happen intermittently over the last few days. And so that's why there's a buzz, because number one, it fits the weather pattern that's going to be in place. And number two, some of the models have, at least at times, been showing it. And when they're not showing, the models aren't showing it, it looks like they're succumbing to their usual errors, their usual biases. So the concern's there, but there's a favorable pattern. That does not mean it's going to happen. It just means there's the potentials there. One of the things I like to look at are the ensembles for this. And we'll look at the GEFS snow plots here. Now, you'll see a lot of blob of snow off toward north. That's from the storm that we're dealing with right now. But notice that some of these ensemble members from the GFS, there's 30, and then you count the GFS too. So the GEFS ensemble has 31 members. But here's the other members, the ensembles. And by the way, to remind you what ensembles are, that's the GEFS is essentially the GFS, and then the rest of the ensembles are slight variations in the input to the model, 30 different variations of slight changes to the input, to give you an idea of what the range of possibilities are and how well the model is predicting it. If all the ensemble members are showing a similar solution, then you probably have a pretty good prediction from the ensemble mean or from the GFS, in this particular case, the main model. But as you can see, there are a lot of differences here. This goes out all the way out to the end of the run. So the models, the ensemble members where we have some snow in the Carolinas, number 1 does, number 16 does, number 17 has a good bit in Western Carolinas and along the Virginia line. Number 13 has some in North Carolina. Big monster storm on number 18. A good bit of snow on 28, a little bit on 14, a good one on 9 there. Look at how crazy this is along the Gulf Coast on number 24. Yeah, it's going into the purple. It's like 40 inches. And this is another fun thing about looking at long range models. You see ridiculous junk like that showing up, and you just bust out laughing. It's awesome. Anyway, there's another storm like the one we had back a year ago.
For anybody just tuning in, this is February 9th, like.
Right.
Yeah.
This is total snow through the end of the model run, which is 16 days out. So anyway, ensemble member 5 has some good snow. So does 10. 15 has a monster snowstorm. Number 20 has nothing. 25 has a little bit, mostly to our west. Number 30 has a little bit. So out of these 31 ensemble members, there's like 10 or 11. From that, you can say the GFS is saying about a 30% chance that we see a snowstorm a week from now. I guess that's valuable information at this point, that about a 30% chance that we can see a winter storm next weekend.
My concern back in reality would be that if we're still recovering from power outages and depleting storm supplies and infrastructure issues from this storm, that whatever comes next week is going to be amplified in terms of impacts. What we're going to feel
absolutely
more.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it's kind of like the last thing we would need is another major winter storm next weekend. So, but the thing is, with that potential storm track, it would probably mostly be snow or rain.
I mean,
not much in the way of ice. Probably, it looks more like a Miller A setup, but
not to trigger anybody.
We're talking about what's happening 7 days from now.
Yeah.
It looked more like a Miller A setup for this storm 7 days ago. Now it turned out to be more of a Miller B with ice.
What I will say is we have lots of new viewers who have just found us since like Wednesday. And so we're here every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock, nerding out about weather, science, and technology and more. And as you can see, it's Saturday night. So we're here extra when stuff warrants. So we will certainly keep a close eye on that, because I wouldn't want that to come to fruition, would be my preference.
Yeah. So what I don't want anybody to do is to come out and say, Carolina Weather Group said there'd be a winter storm next weekend. No, we didn't say that.
No,
we did not say that. We said there's a chance. It's a reasonable possibility because the weather pattern favors it, and there's a limited amount of model support for it. So it's something to watch. But no, we did not say there's going to be a foot of snow anywhere in the Carolinas next weekend. It might not happen.
Do you know what it reminds me of? And I don't mean this like insensitively. I don't mean to trigger anybody. But after Helene, there was a lot of rumors about a second hurricane, and there was a lot of bad information going around. And it's hard to vet information when you don't have your normal flows of communication. And so I think everything that Frank just explained is good to tuck away into your brain so that if you wake up on Sunday or Monday or Tuesday without power, and then you start hearing all these crazy things, find a source, whether it's us or somebody else that you trust. Maybe it's somebody on an AM/FM radio. And so they can just keep you informed, because you don't, there's Sam's on an AM/FM radio, because you don't want to fall into a rabbit hole that another Armageddon is coming while we're still recovering, if it's not true. And if it is true, I guarantee you, again, on the radio, you'll be hearing the governors come out, you'll be hearing local officials come out. So it is good context to hold on to. Mm-hmm. Can I bring us back around to tonight and close this out with a couple of comments of people who are watching us? Okay, so a couple of comments from those of you watching over on the Carolina Weather Net, if I can find them again. Okay, so Emily writes, unless the precipitation starts in the next 40 minutes in Greenville, South Carolina, the forecast for today will have been completely wrong. My thought process on this is it could be wrong in that it's not exactly right. Like, again, maybe we get 0.6 of an inch instead of 0.7 of an inch because of the dry air. But my other thought is, if a train leaves Los Angeles with 10 cars and it's destined for Raleigh and it runs into a delay along the way, it's still going to show up in Raleigh with 10 cars. It's just going to maybe show up 3 hours late. And that feels like the scenario that we're kind of in.
That's a good
the real problem is when that train shows up with only 9 cars. That's when you
that
got
would be a problem.
Yeah, right.
Right.
In Albuquerque.
And for anyone who's new,
took a wrong turn in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
For anyone who's new, I'm full of train analogies, so there'll be more of those.
Yes, you are. My rail fan host of Carolina Weather Group, James Brierton.
Yeah. The other comment, and I apologize.
Story time with James Brierton, the horseshoe curve.
I know. That's a whole episode. I apologize. I can't find the person's name.
Go pull that live cam up. See what it looks like right now.
I can't find the actual comment, so I don't recall the person's name, and I'm terribly sorry about that. But the comment was something to the like of they work in emergency response, emergency management, and they are preparing for this storm the same way they prepare for a hurricane. So they're in their E911 center, they are prepared, they're ready to go, but they're doing a lot of the same protocols that they would for a hurricane, right? Because a hurricane's going to come through, and it's going to bring down tree branches, and it's going to bring down power lines, and it's going to make traveling around really difficult. Here we are.
Yep. Speaking of upstate South Carolina a minute ago, looking at radar now, it looks like things are starting to fill in upstate South Carolina a little bit. We're starting to see some light returns there, even close to the radar itself. So it's probably may actually be reaching the ground in some areas. So no, your forecast is probably not going to be completely wrong for that area. What is this? What's this big red exclamation point up in Tennessee? Oh, it's a power outage reported on MPing. You can report power outages on MPing.
I don't think it's on the screen for us, so I was like, what? But no. There
it is. It's a big exclamation point.
It's a bad image file. PNG did not load. Sorry, that's really dirty reference. All right, so Frank, I guess I'll pose this question to you. Even though I told Sam at the beginning of the show I was going to let him host, and now I'm totally stealing it again. Old habits die hard. What do people need to do tonight as they head to bed so that we're prepared for tomorrow?
Well, last minute things to do. Maybe set the thermostat a degree or two warmer than you usually do if you can stand it. I have mine set at 65 because I tend to be a furnace in the middle of the night and wake up sweaty even if if it's in the 60s in my room. Summers are tough. For me. Anyway, maybe set the thermostat a degree or two higher. Make sure all your things are charged, your phone's charged, your iPad's charged, your kid's Nintendo Switch or whatever's charged. Because you definitely don't want that battery running out. Anything else, your battery pack. That solar-powered battery pack that you have that you spent $600 for and thought, hey, I'm going to run my blow dryer with it. No, you're not. You might not even be running your microwave oven with it if you think you could. Those things are nice for sure, but they have their limitations. You need to understand how they work. So be sure you read the manual on it and make sure it's fully charged before you go to bed. Your other little battery packs that you charge.
I almost blew mine last night. I tried to. Let me try the electric heater, the electric kettle. Let me try the electric kettle on this battery. safety switch.
Right.
Like, nope.
Right, because I've seen yours. It's a little one, so yeah, you get a maximum like 300 watts of power, which is not very much. It's good for charging your phone. It's good for running some electronics. It's not going to run your microwave oven. Now, some of these bigger ones, the newer, bigger ones that can put out 2,000 watts of power, that'll run your microwave. You think microwaves don't use a lot of power? They use a ton of power because everybody uses them on the highest setting, and they draw like 1,800 watts. So for the typical microwave oven that puts out about 1,200 watts. So anyway, they use a lot of power. They'll probably will your little battery pack won't power it. The bigger ones probably will, but not forever, not for long. They use a lot of power. Your vacuum cleaner, no, it's not going to run that. Yeah. Blow dryer, probably not going to run that. They use a lot of power, unless you have one of the really big ones that you spend a couple thousand for. But anyway, the important thing is to have that charged up. Do you have a generator? You know how to use it right. You got to ground it. When these gasoline or diesel or propane generators, you got to ground those things for the operate them safely. Most importantly of all, you have to use them in a ventilated area. If you use them in an enclosed area, you're going to build up carbon monoxide, and that can kill you. It will kill you if you're in it long enough. Mm-hmm. That's important too. So all these things are things you need to be thinking about before you get. But don't totally stress out over it. You do need your sleep too. So anyway, those are things to think about before you go to bed.
It's indoor camping. Sam, you've been holding down the fort, bringing us the governor's briefings for North Carolina and South Carolina, in addition to our forecast shows. So what can people expect from us over the next 72 hours?
Well, we're going to wake up and see what we've got. Looking and thinking about doing a show tomorrow morning, just because people are going to be going, what happened overnight? Why not do one tomorrow morning? And then we'll probably do one tomorrow evening to kind of see where we stand. And if conditions warrant, if things get really crazy, especially, where we've been showing those purples and where are in that ice storm warning, if things really get to go nuts there overnight and tomorrow morning, maybe even more. But I'd plan on something in the morning hour tomorrow, maybe 9 a.m. Sounds like a plan for me. I'll be up anyway. I don't sleep. So everybody says I work 24 hours a day, and that's pretty much how my life goes. So I'm planning on jumping online here 9 o'clock on Sunday morning, and then we'll see how things go throughout the day and whether we need to do more updates throughout the day and into the evening hours.
Fabulous. I did not mean to put that QR code on top of Frank's face.
Redacted. Frank was redacted by the QR code. A couple more things to do before you go to bed. Your dishes.
Yes.
There might not be hot water in the morning.
Yes.
Do the dishes before you go to bed tonight.
Do the dishes. Run the dishwasher.
Have you got laundry that you washed earlier today but haven't put in the dryer yet? Put it in the dryer now. Get it dry. Well, you still have power to dry it.
You can put it outside and it'll be nice and starched for you.
I feel like I did 2 weeks worth of cleaning today. So that's a good point. All right, Sam, you want to take us home here?
Yep, I'll take everybody home. And thanks for joining us tonight. It has been a pleasure to be along with you throughout the duration. We are wrapping up the first quarter. About to get into the second quarter tonight. By the time we get up tomorrow morning, it'll be halftime, and we'll see where we stand, and then get ready for the second half of this big blob. Is that what we're calling this? The big blue blob?
Big blob of junk, yes.
The big blob of junk. That is what this storm system is turning out to be. It's going to get, it really does have this feeling it's going to get crazy overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. So we will keep you up to date, of course, on all our social media and, of course, right here on the Carolina Weather Group. Thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks, Frank, for jumping in. Thanks, James, for jumping in. We will see you next time. Stay safe out there. Stay warm. Stay dry. Do all that good stuff. We'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.